Welcome to Belief Busters Podcast, where we change the world one belief at a time. True transformation happens when we question if the beliefs we hold are of truth, or simply someone else's belief that we have internalized as our own. I'm your host, Rev. Cherie Taylor-Jones, and I'm glad you could join us on the journey. And now for the conclusion of our episode on Belief Busters.
And I think that most of our parents want the best for us, don't they? So if we can appeal to that side, that I'm not trying to get it all in your business. I'm not trying to take over your checking account and start writing checks or things like that.
Yes.
I just want to be prepared to help you if that time comes.
We are in a different reality. We're parenting our parents. And how do we support people in really getting that there's limitations and that they are doing the best that they can, and then there's a level of letting go? How do we help them with that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to make sure that they know they're not alone, because we have so many people in our group who are so overwhelmed, and because it's not something you can really talk about very easily. You don't go up to your neighbor and say, "Oh yeah, Mom's got incontinence problems. How about you? How you doing?" It just doesn't happen.
Correct.
You're embarrassed by it. It's not something you're comfortable talking about. So you don't, and it's bad news usually. It's something that's kind of depressing. We like to compare it to having a baby. When you have your first baby, it's so exciting. You have no idea what you're doing, but everyone offers a little bit of advice, suggestions, tidbits about what to do about sleeping through the night and crawling and walking and everything. Yes. Because it's good news. It's fun. But when it's your aging parent, no one really likes to talk about it, brag about it. It's not exactly party conversation, right. Neighborhood conversation. So because of that, you start feeling alone, and it can be depressing when you get into that dark spot of your life. So that if you can bring that light back out and realize that there are people supporting you, that doesn't mean that they're giving you money, it doesn't mean that they're doing things for you, but they're offering just support, guidance, assistance, just in their knowledge. It helps so much so that you're not alone.
And even the empathy, just knowing that other people are going through the same things. Because I think we just don't tend to tell our friends often because we don't think that they might relate. And then when it does come up in conversation, we quickly realize, oh, every single one of us has something, whether it was a grandmother or grandparent that we saw our parents work with, or it's something that we're currently doing or that we've done with our parents. And so I think that's one of the things that we really want people to feel comfortable with is this is tough stuff, and we can help each other when we talk about it and share. And even though I don't have all the answers for you, or you don't have all the answers in my situation, we can piece together those little bits of information that can sometimes give me just the little nugget that might help in the next visit with my mom, or in the next, being talking to a lot of the people that we've interviewed. I've selfishly learned so much from those, and we've found some of the people to interview because they're topics that we're interested in. Right. But just helping to think about, be with them where they are, and or knowing that my mom doesn't mean to ask me the same question 15 times.
Yes,
she doesn't mean to, even though I sometimes get really annoyed. It's just helping. It's just having to sort of have that empathy for each other, and in some ways for our parents too, because we just have to know that it's frustrating for them. I mean, they don't want to be needing us necessarily any more than we might think. Well, gosh, I wish they could do some of these things themselves. Nobody really wants to have to depend on somebody else. Nobody wants to be sick. So I think that if we can kind of come from it from that perspective, it can sometimes give us that little extra dose of empathy that we might need, that they're not choosing to be this way. It just is what it is.
Right. So tell me, how did your group Parenting Aging Parents come into existence? What do you do? How is that functioning?
Yeah,
sort of by accident, in a weird way.
But it really happened because of my mom having Alzheimer's. She's had it for almost 10 years now, I guess. It's such a slow progressing disease that it's just mom forgetting things at first. And then as it got worse and worse, and my sister and I convinced my dad, instead of living at home and you taking care of her all the time and taking her out to eat breakfast, taking her out to eat lunch, taking her out to eat dinner, because he doesn't cook. So because that's like, this is wearing you down. You need to move into independent living so that it's easier on you. You go to the cafeteria and eat 3 meals a day. And he was a little resistant at first, not totally, but a little bit, just because he pictured my grandfather's nursing home. There's a big difference between a nursing home and independent living.
Where they play bingo and all kinds of fun stuff. Right.
And independent living's like living in a dorm to me. So once they moved, he's like, son, this is the best thing we've ever done. Thanks so much. But then as my mom's Alzheimer's getting worse and worse and worse, my sister and I talked to my dad again and said, we're going to have to move her to memory care. Not tomorrow, but pretty soon. So you've got to wrap your head around that, be behind it 100%, or it's not going to work. And we need to start looking. And he's like, okay, I want you two to do it. That's all up to you. It's like, okay, we will. And because we felt so prepared, not that we needed it at the time, but we had the will, the power of attorney, the medical directive, and all that in place. So we're fine there. We've talked to my dad about money, about, what can you afford? What kind of income do you have? So, we can't look for a $20,000 a month place. What are we looking for for my mom to live in? So we felt good. So I kind of compared it to going out looking for an apartment. Okay, let's just find what looks good for mom. Well, we started looking at 4 different memory care places near where my mom and dad's independent place was. And it's so overwhelming because you walk in and you're like,
what am I looking for?
What am I looking for? What's the difference between everything? What questions do I ask? Right. Are there any red flags I should know about? We had no idea. Right. And then that's what we felt prepared. And we still felt so overwhelmed. I told Kim at the time, I feel like if we feel overwhelmed by this, most people aren't nearly as prepared as we are. We need to start something, I think. It would be helpful if we start some type of group, maybe on Facebook or something, that would just let people talk about it, ask questions, and get answers.
And at first, I wasn't quite sure what that would look like. And some of it seemed a little bit depressing, just truthfully, just as far as like, oh, this is hard stuff to talk about. Yes. But it was really after Mike's mom moved to memory care and he posted something on social media just to share what a hard thing that was. And what I noticed is that along with tons and tons of comments, of course, that were just very empathetic about the situation, what I really noticed was the number of people that said, I've done the same thing. I'm in the process of it, or I see that in my future. Yes. And I said, you know what, you're right. There are lots of people that are going through these tough things. And as we mentioned before, people aren't talking about it. We don't know that our friends are going through this sometimes even, besides our neighbors and everybody else. And so I said, yes, you're right. So we sort of as an experiment started the Facebook group in April of 2021, just to see, are people interested? And as we started seeing dozens and then hundreds and then thousands of people join from all over the country, even a few people from out of the country, watching the conversations. And so we just really realized there is a huge need for this, as well as there's a great need for the fact that there are lots of services and providers out there who can help you through these things that as the adult child, you don't even know that they exist. You don't know their names. You don't know what they're called, what they do. How would you even Google it? And so we really decided, really in that fall, that could we become kind of the connector to help people be able to find those people that they may need to ask questions of, and mainly just be able to know the right questions to ask. And that's what we do a lot in the interviews that we do too.
Yeah, we talk to experts from all ranges of people. Maybe it's attorneys to talk about wills or power of attorney. Maybe it's a doctor to talk about things. Maybe it's someone in the insurance realm to talk about Medicare, Medicaid,
resolving conflict within the family, just all kinds of different
music
topics.
Therapy, all kinds of things. And again, because everyone is different, everyone has a different condition, different financial restraints, different family dynamics. There's no one answer out there, but it gives you an idea about, oh, maybe I should try this, or maybe I should talk to this, or maybe I should get this. I need to make sure I'm prepared for that. So it helps everyone in one way or the other, just kind of be prepared and be better suited and equipped for the job that they're doing.
Almost helping you know what you don't know.
Yeah.
At least pointing it out so that you realize, oh, I didn't even know that I needed to know about that there was a difference between Medicare and Medicare Advantage. Oh, who knew? Or home health and home care. Very different. Sounds the same, sounds very similar. So just helping people. And that's really using our expertise as former reporters to be able to do the interviews and be able to ask the questions and find out that information. So in some ways, it really allows us to be able to use what we've been doing for so long to be able to educate and inform other people too.
Yeah, because that was the biggest thing that I thought of when we started. I said, we could always just start this and open it up, kind of like a room that everybody could join and do what you want to. Have fun talking about your older parents. That's great. Right. But again, because of our background on TV and being television journalists and reporters, that we knew how to ask questions. We know how to get good answers out of people. So we use that experience and have dozens of interviews on our website that we post also in Facebook. So again, people can get something out of it. It may not apply to everybody. When we interview somebody about hospice, okay, you may be going, I'm not even close to that. That doesn't affect me. But all of a sudden, when it happens, boom, now you know where to go. You know how to get a good answer to, again, find out not the perfect answer for you, but you can figure out, where do I need to go and what do I need to do?
Beautiful. What's your hope for this group? Are you seeing a evolution of some sort?
We just want to we want the community just to continue growing and growing and growing, because I think there's power in numbers and there's power in the fact that we all can feel like we are going through these same things together. And so we want to, to keep growing in that way. Yeah. And then also, can we start working to connect people who need to find those? Because some people might be able to watch the interviews and get all the information they need, and that's great. But there are others that are going to want to, I need to find somebody that can help me with that. And so when you're struggling and when you're stressed and you need to, mom's fallen and broken her hip and they say that she has to be released from the hospital tomorrow, and where do you want her to go? And she can't go home. And you think, I don't know, how can you find those resources to be able to take that action when you need to?
We just talked to a friend yesterday whose mom had some trouble, and we pointed her in the right direction, took care of everything. She's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That helped so much. And it's just so gratifying as the group gets bigger and bigger and bigger on Facebook, that every time someone joins, well, not every time, but as 50 to 100 people join a week or even more, people regularly post something without us asking, just say, I am so glad I found this group because I have felt so alone and I've found so many answers that's helped me so much, it means so much to us because, again, we've been there. I was so overwhelmed about my mom, and it was so hard moving my mom into memory care. I know what it's like, and I know how tough that feels for you. But if we can reach the millions of people out there that are going through something, I laugh about trying to keep track of how many states we've reached, and we're at, I think, 41 out of the 50 states that we have people in our group
that we know of.
That we know of. And there may be somebody from North Dakota I haven't heard from yet, or from Maine. But it's just so gratifying knowing that it's not just people in Austin, because it's something that is not isolated to one area or one age. It's everywhere.
Correct.
And the more people know about it, and people keep coming on. A friend told me about this, how great this group is, and I wanted to join. Or said I needed to join, whatever, either way, they join. And I realized that it's not like it's a fad or something like that. They realize they can get help and their life can be better because of this. And it just means the world to me.
Beautiful.
And the saddest part, I guess, if you look at it that way, is that it's only going to continue to become probably more of an issue because people are living longer. Technology and medical advances allow people to live longer. It doesn't always mean that the quality of life is better. Sometimes it is, but there's just going to continue to be more and more people that are entering this age group, that sandwich generation, where you are managing potentially your children and your parents at the same time, and potentially at the height of your career. And so you're trying to, how do you manage all those pieces? So I think it's going to continue to be a challenge for a lot of people. And so if we can be that resource for them to be able to help them find the support, find the answers, find the people that can help them if that's what they need, that is really our calling, I think.
Yeah.
And if people want to get in contact with you and the group, how do they go about that?
The easiest thing to do is just go to the website, parentingagingparents.com. There you'll see the dozens of interviews that we've done with all the different experts. Pick one that sounds interesting. We've both interviewed our parents, so that was sort of a fun one. But that's where all the interviews are housed. They're also on YouTube as well. And then there's also a button on the page that links you right to our Facebook group if somebody wants to join.
Great. What's the one thing that you want folks who are dealing with parenting, aging parents, what do you want them to walk away from this conversation getting?
I think one, knowing they're not alone.
Yeah.
It can feel so lonely and isolating, to think that surely nobody else can understand what I'm going through. So I don't want to burden them with what's going on in our family. But I think know that you're not alone. And chances are, if you reached out to a neighbor or one of your friends, they likely are going through the same thing. And so
Yeah.
just be aware of that and give yourself that little bit of grace that you've never done this before. So of course you don't necessarily know all the answers because you've never had to do it before. Why would you have already researched and updated everything you needed to know about Medicare and all the ins and outs and the plans and blah, blah, blah. Why would you need to know that? You haven't needed that. So just giving yourself a little bit of grace and knowing that you're not alone.
And it's a safe group. It's a safe place. So that there's no question that is too dumb or silly or stupid. You can ask anything. And one person came a few months ago and said, my mom has Alzheimer's. She's 90 years old. And I really want to take her to the beach, but she's in a wheelchair. I don't know what to do. Anybody have any ideas? I mean, if you think about that, if you just posted that in any group, in any normal group, people go, what is this? This is kind of silly. What crazy question. Mm-hmm. But someone immediately responded, says, did you know that down at Port Aransas, there is a wheelchair that can go into the ocean that you can just get for free? All you have to do is reserve it.
Oh my goodness.
Oh
my goodness.
Yes. And so the woman reserved the wheelchair, took her mom down there and posted pictures in our group of this 90-year-old woman in this wheelchair in the ocean with this big smile on
joy.
her face.
Pure joy.
Huge smile of joy. And she passed away a couple of months later. And this woman said she'll never forget that because it meant so much to her mom. Her mom didn't remember it afterwards because of her Alzheimer's. But at the time, the joy on her face was something that anyone who sees the picture will never forget. And it's going to mean the world to this woman forever. And knowing that we can help that process is just amazing.
Wow.
We have lots of fun. I mean, there's lots of great stories like that come out of it, just as far as the support that people can get and the feeling that, again, just that little trick of, Mike's mom, when Mike's sister goes to visit their mom, if she gets agitated, she just pulls out the yarn and says, oh gosh, I dropped a stitch on my knitting. Can you help me? And even though their mom can't quite actually do it.
She can't knit anymore, but she can grab that yarn and try to
untangle it,
straighten it up a little bit. And suddenly she gets redirected. So she forgets what she was upset about.
Yes.
So just little things like that.
Can make tips that can help so much.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a calling. Would you say that?
Absolutely.
We think it is. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. Thank you for doing this work. Really appreciate all the connections. Just sounds so sweet. And the resources and just we're all in this together that you bring. Yeah. What a gift.
Thank you. That's what we always like to say. We're all in this together, right? Because it just lightens the load for everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. For our Belief Busters posse, I hope that this was as meaningful a conversation for you all as it was for me, and just that we aren't alone on this journey and that we can reach out to each other and find support and find ways of just giving each other the grace as life continues to evolve and change, and getting the resources that we need to be able to manage that as gracefully as possible. If you are enjoying these conversations about assessing your belief systems and how to transform outdated beliefs, then please subscribe and give us a positive review. To support this podcast and its transformative work, you can also become a sponsor for as little as $5 a month. You can reach Rev Cherie at info@beliefbusterspodcast.org. To continue on this journey of evolution, you can also get my book, Turning Your Why into Why Not, at Amazon or any other bookstores, which gives you practical tools to do this work. See you next time on the flip side.